Welcome to the Stocks Pulse, where we bring you fascinating stories of innovation, strategy, and success.
Okay, so today we're diving deep into Accenture.
Accenture, yeah.
We're going to be wearing a few hats today. So we're business analysts, we're investors,
Of course.
and just generally curious folks who want to understand how this global powerhouse is really performing.
Yeah.
Because you see them making moves in so many
Sure.
industries. And, we really want to get a clear picture of their health.
Yeah.
And what their future might hold.
For sure.
So our mission today is to break down their latest fiscal report.
Okay.
Without getting bogged down in all the corporate jargon that usually comes with these things.
Exactly. It's like, we're going to be your personal business analyst for this deep dive into Accenture.
Exactly.
So they just had their second quarter earnings call for fiscal year 2025.
Right.
And that transcript is going to be our main source.
Perfect.
But it's not just about the numbers.
Yeah.
It's about getting into the minds of their management.
Right.
What are they seeing in the market?
Yeah.
What's driving their growth? And what challenges are they facing?
Absolutely. So let's map this out for our listeners.
Okay.
First up, we're going to hit the key financial figures.
Right.
So we're talking revenue growth. How much new business are they booking?
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is a big deal for future performance.
Absolutely.
We'll look at profitability and how efficiently they're generating cash.
Okay.
Then we'll move into operational highlights.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in their progress in generative AI.
Of course, the buzzword of the year.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And also any strategic acquisitions they've made.
Right. Acquisitions tell a big story.
Yeah, and we'll really dig into what Accenture's management is saying about the current business environment.
Okay.
What are their clients focused on?
Right.
How are they dealing with economic uncertainty?
Yeah.
And we'll even look at some specifics about their work with the U.S. federal government.
Interesting.
Then we'll wrap up with their outlook for the rest of their fiscal year.
Sounds good. A comprehensive view.
Yeah, and remember, the goal here is to extract the real insights, the nuggets.
The good stuff.
The good stuff that gives you a clear understanding of where Accenture is heading.
I like it. So let's jump right in with their overall performance in Q2 of fiscal year 2025.
Okay.
The big news is their revenue growth. They hit 8.5% increase in local currency.
Wow.
Reaching $16.7 billion.
That's massive.
And from an investor's perspective,
Yeah.
this number landed at the top end of their own guidance.
That's always a good sign.
It is, and even more importantly, they've been gaining market share against their competitors over the last 4 quarters.
So they're not just riding a wave.
Exactly. They're taking a bigger slice of the pie.
And that's what investors want to see, right?
Outperformance, that's the key.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about new bookings.
The lifeblood.
The lifeblood of future revenue.
Yeah.
So in this quarter, they secured a huge $20.9 billion in new business.
Wow, okay.
Now, that was flat in local currency, but down 3% in U.S. dollars.
Probably currency fluctuation.
Yeah, probably.
But their book-to-bill ratio came in at 1.3.
Okay, break that down for me.
So for every dollar of revenue they recognized, they secured $1.30 in new work.
So that's a good thing.
That's healthy. It shows they're lining up future growth.
Yeah, I see. And they had 32 clients with individual bookings exceeding $100 million in just 3 months.
32 clients over $100 million.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that shows you the scale of these engagements. They're working on huge projects.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or maybe the AI in the room.
Right, generative AI, everybody's talking about it.
So let's see how Accenture is doing in this space.
So they booked $1.4 billion in new business, specifically tied to Gen AI in the quarter.
Okay, so they're definitely capitalizing on this trend.
Yeah, and that translated to roughly $600 million in revenue.
Wow, so are we talking serious growth here?
Big time. Their Gen AI revenue for the first half of this fiscal year is already at $1.1 billion.
Wow.
And last year, their full-year Gen AI revenue was $900 million.
So they're way ahead of last year.
Yeah, it's exponential growth.
Yeah.
It really highlights how fast businesses are adopting this technology and how Accenture is leading the charge.
Okay, so that's the revenue picture. Now let's get into profitability.
Okay, let's see how they're doing.
So while their revenue growth is impressive, their operating margin actually contracted a bit, landing at 13.5% for the quarter.
Okay, so a little bit of a dip.
Yeah, it's a 20 basis point decrease compared to the same period last year.
Interesting.
And their earnings per share saw a modest 2% increase to 2.82.
So a little slower growth there.
Yeah, and it seems like they're making some major investments that might be impacting those profitability numbers in the short term.
Yeah, they mentioned over $250 million going into 6 strategic acquisitions just this quarter.
6, wow, and they spent almost $500 million on 11 acquisitions in the first half of the year.
So they're on a buying spree.
It seems like it.
And this inorganic growth strategy comes at a cost?
Yeah, it can put a dent in short-term profits.
Exactly. But they're clearly betting on the future.
Yeah, they're aiming to fuel those future revenue streams.
And they're really bulking up in high-demand areas, like you said, generative AI and industry-specific solutions.
Right, so it's a trade-off short-term hits for long-term potential gain.
And investors need to consider that balance.
And they're not just buying other companies, they're also pouring money into their own talent.
Yeah, they talked about 15 million training hours in a single quarter. That's a huge commitment.
It's a big number.
And their focus is on getting their workforce up to speed on generative AI and other cutting-edge skills.
So they're really trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Oh yeah, they have to in this rapidly changing tech landscape.
And their data and AI workforce has grown to about 72,000 professionals.
Wow.
With a goal of hitting 80,000 by the end of fiscal year 2026.
So they're building a serious AI army.
Exactly.
And from a shareholder's perspective,
Yeah.
it's good to see that they returned $2.4 billion to shareholders this quarter through buybacks and dividends.
Okay, so they're rewarding their investors.
Yeah, and they even increased their dividend by 15% year over year.
That's a good sign.
It shows they're confident in their financial health and committed to delivering value.
Absolutely. And, it's worth mentioning their recognition as an ethical and admired organization by groups like Ethisphere, just Capital and Fortune.
Right, those accolades aren't just for show.
No, they're not in a business that's built on trust.
Yeah.
And attracting top talent, those endorsements matter.
They do. It can boost client confidence and help them attract the best employees.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about how Accenture's management is viewing these results and the broader market.
Okay, so what's their take on things?
Well, they're seeing their clients continue to prioritize large-scale digital transformations.
Right, so the big picture stuff.
Yeah, and Accenture is positioning itself as a key partner in this reinvention.
And generative AI is a big part of that.
Oh, absolutely. The key themes they're seeing are the need for a robust digital foundation.
Okay.
With AI deeply integrated.
Makes sense.
And they're also focusing on optimizing customer-facing operations,
Yeah.
as well as core operational areas like supply chain,
Okay.
and their Industry X division, which is all about manufacturing and industrial transformation.
So a broad focus.
Yeah, and importantly, they're seeing clients really focused on achieving cost efficiencies
Right.
and driving growth.
So doing more with less.
Exactly.
And now let's zoom in on this Gen AI adoption.
It seems like it's moving past just experimentation.
Way past they're seeing it deployed at scales.
Okay, so real-world applications.
Yeah, they highlighted a joint venture with Telstra in Australia as a great example.
Tell me more about that.
So they're helping Telstra modernize their data systems, build an AI infrastructure,
Okay.
implement advanced AI solutions, and even upskill their workforce.
Wow, so it's a pretty comprehensive approach.
Yeah, end-to-end AI integration.
And is this just a one-off, or are other companies showing interest?
Actually, Accenture says they're seeing similar interest from clients in Australia across banking, retail, and utilities.
So it sounds like this Telstra partnership could be a model for others.
Exactly. It's showing what's possible with large-scale AI-driven transformation.
That's really interesting. Okay, so beyond Gen AI,
Yeah.
it sounds like the core work of building a strong digital foundation is still essential.
Absolutely. They reported double-digit growth in both their cloud and security businesses.
So those fundamentals are still in high demand.
Yeah, and they shared a really cool example of a partnership with a multinational food processing company.
Okay, how are they using technology?
So they're using AI and Gen AI across their supply chain to manage inventory and even improve customer communication.
Wow, so it's all about becoming a data-driven organization.
Exactly, and they're showing how this can create real value.
So it's not just hype, it's delivering tangible results.
Right, and I thought it was really interesting how they're using Gen AI to identify potential inventory risks and even trigger promotional sales.
So it's proactive decision-making?
Yeah, it's not just basic automation anymore. It's using AI to anticipate problems and make smarter decisions.
That's impressive. And what about their Industry X division?
So that's the one focused on transforming manufacturing and industrial operations, right?
Yeah.
They reported high single-digit growth, which is pretty healthy.
Okay, and do they have any interesting examples there?
Yeah, they talked about their work with Keon using AI-powered digital twins to create these intelligent warehouses where robots and humans work side by side.
So the future of logistics.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool stuff. And what about their song division, the one focused on customer experience?
So they're all about integrating creativity, data, AI tech strategy, and operations.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle.
It is, but they're seeing success. They hit double-digit growth.
And any specific examples there?
Yeah, they talked about working with a multinational communications company to optimize their media strategy using a unified data platform and AI-driven automation.
So again, it's all about using technology to make smarter decisions.
Exactly.
And it seems like talent development is a big focus for them, both internally and for their clients.
Yeah, they have a platform called LearnVantage, which is designed to help organizations upskill their workforces.
So giving them the skills they need to thrive in this new world.
Yeah, they gave some examples of how they're using this in Saudi Arabia and with a major big box retailer.
Okay, so this is a global effort.
Absolutely.
Now let's switch gears and talk about some of the challenges Accenture is facing.
Okay, so what are the headwinds they're dealing with?
Well, they talked about some difficulties in their federal government business.
Oh, that's interesting. What's going on there?
So with the change in administration and the focus on government efficiency, they've seen a slowdown in new procurement.
So less government spending.
Yeah, and the General Services Administration is reviewing contracts with top-paid consulting firms,
Including Accenture.
including Accenture, and they could terminate contracts for work that's considered non-mission critical.
So that could be a significant hit.
It could be, and while Accenture believes their work is essential,
Right.
they do anticipate some ongoing uncertainty.
Yeah, it's a tough environment for government contractors right now.
It is, but they do see some longer-term opportunities in the federal government.
Like what?
They mentioned consolidation of system and modernization of infrastructure and broader reinvention efforts.
So there's still potential there.
There is, but they'll have to navigate some choppy waters in the meantime.
Makes sense. Now, beyond the federal sector, they also talked about increased global uncertainty.
Right, the economic and geopolitical landscape is definitely more uncertain than it was last quarter.
Yeah, we're seeing evolving trade policies and fluctuations in consumer sentiment.
Exactly, it's a volatile environment.
For sure, but despite all that,
Yeah.
Accenture's management seemed pretty confident.
So what's giving them that confidence?
Well, they pointed to a few things.
Okay.
First, their agility. They can adapt to market shifts quickly.
Okay, that's important in a fast-changing world.
Yeah, second, their strong relationships with clients and their extensive partner ecosystem.
So a lot of trust and collaboration.
Exactly. And third, their leadership position in key areas like generative AI and digital transformation.
So they're well-positioned for the future.
Yeah, and importantly, they're diversified across markets, industries, and types of work.
That helps to spread the risk.
Absolutely. And here's an interesting point. They said they haven't seen widespread client pauses on projects.
So business is still moving forward?
Yeah, with the exception of the federal sector that we talked about.
Okay.
And they're seeing clients focus on accelerating existing programs, especially those aimed at cost efficiencies.
So that's a clear trend.
Yeah, discretionary spending is still constrained, but there are pockets of improvement.
Interesting. Okay, so let's move on to their financial outlook.
Yeah, what are they expecting for the rest of the year?
So for the third quarter, they're projecting revenue in the range of $16.9 billion to $17.5 billion.
Okay, so continued growth.
Yeah, that's 3% to 7% growth in local currency, taking into account a slight negative impact from foreign exchange rates.
Okay.
And for the full fiscal year 2025, they've raised the lower end of their revenue growth guidance.
That's good.
Yeah, they're now expecting 5% to 7% growth in local currency with a negative 0.5% impact from foreign exchange.
So they're still optimistic.
Yeah, their underlying organic growth is expected to be between 2% and 4%,
Okay.
with consulting in the mid-single digits and managed services in the high single digits.
Got it.
And they see acquisitions contributing a little over 3% to their overall growth.
Okay, so a healthy mix of organic and inorganic growth.
Exactly. And for profitability,
Yeah.
they're expecting an operating margin of 15.6% to 15.7% for the full year.
Okay, so a slight improvement.
Yeah, it's a 10 to 20 basis point increase over last year.
Got it.
And their effective tax rate is projected to be between 22.5% and 24.5%.
Okay, and what about earnings per share?
So they're expecting diluted earnings per share in the range of 12.55 to 12.79 for the full year,
Okay,
which is a 5% to 7% growth over last year.
so solid EPS growth.
And for cash flow,
Yeah.
they're forecasting operating cash flow between $9.4 billion and $10.1 billion,
Okay,
with capital expenditures at around $600 million,
why?
resulting in free cash flow of $8.8 billion to $9.5 billion.
So strong cash generation.
And lastly, they're still committed to returning value to shareholders.
Okay,
They expect to return at least $8.3 billion through dividends and buybacks for the full year.
so they're keeping investors happy?
It seems like it, but it's important to note that their guidance reflects their current view of the federal uncertainty and the economic climate.
Right, things could change.
They could.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned from this deep dive into Accenture's performance.
Yeah, let's pull it all together.
So we're seeing strong top-line growth
Yeah,
with really impressive momentum in generative AI.
absolutely.
They're investing strategically through acquisitions and navigating increased economic uncertainty and those headwinds in their U.S. federal government business.
Right, but they've updated their outlook for the full year, and it's still positive.
Yeah, they're confident in their strategy and their ability to adapt.
And they seem to be striking a good balance between driving growth and helping their clients become more efficient.
Exactly. It's a powerful combination.
So as you digest all of this, think about the bigger picture.
Yeah,
What does this tell us about the evolving role of technology in driving business value?
right?
Which industries are going to be most impacted by these
Good
trends?
question.
And what opportunities and challenges are out there for both companies and individuals?
Lots to think about.
It's a dynamic landscape, and Accenture is right at the forefront.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
It will.